I have a lot to say, right? That's why I stopped planning, because whatever I say is whatever I say, and I could have said something entirely different, that would have been, equally interesting or uninteresting, depending on your perspective of what I'm saying. But there's so many different ways of talking about this. And yet, it's really like treating dog training like meditation, right? We're like, observe your dog brings you back into the present moment, right? As soon as you focus on that, now all of a sudden you're more relaxed because you're just being with your dog. In that connection, the dog feels. So a dog knows when the person is connected or not. And I often see people who have dogs that struggle with distractibility, is that the human, every time the dog checks in, if the human isn't acknowledging that, then the dog is going, oh, I'm here alone in this. That person is not checked in. So for dogs with distractibility, I'm there with the person saying, every time your dog does the slightest ear rotation towards you, head check, all that stuff, you good boy. You're not asking anything of him. You're basically saying, I see you. I hear you. And the dog then who's distracted because he's concerned about the environment, about that dog or whatever, then knows, hey, I'm not in this alone. My person and I, we're here together like we are at home. And that dog is more likely to reorient to the handler more and more and more because they're in it together, versus if you miss all those communications from your dog, not only is your dog going to feel they're in it on their own, but that's exactly how you extinguish unwanted behaviors, by ignoring them. So if you have a dog that struggles with distraction, or a dog that you are always begging for their attention, chances are very good that you have missed a lot of those little ear twitches, head twitches, and all of that. And once you start acknowledging them, you're going to get more of those, and you're going to get a dog that can take kind of a sigh of like, I'm not here alone. My person is here with me like we are at home. So anyway.
What did Lou say? Finish the session and she had started to give. Puck had it right away. That's her older dog. Can work while listening.
Oh, so you just did it? Lou, did you just do this with your dog?
Probably.
Yeah. So if like flopping down the side is not an issue for your dog, but there is another type of issue that your dog has, I call it reactivity. It's a great way of thinking about anything that is involuntary, instead of reactivity being reactive against dogs and that kind of reactivity. Is really thinking about, and in ourselves as well, right? Like, I'm reactive when I see an off-leash dog, hackles raised, running towards my dogs. I have reactivity, like big time. And I've worked a lot with that, because it's not advantageous to have that kind of hysteria inside with, your dogs. They're going to sense and feel it. But so I would, the challenge, for Lou is, since that happened right away, and, so yeah, that's probably not a big issue for Puck, but, is there somewhere else in your dog's life that there's some reactivity that you could then figure out a different way? So it might not be laying on your side, what might not be the shoulder push, but how do you now think of giving your dog choice to relax her nervous system in whatever it is that's triggering her? And it may look completely different. So that's the challenge of Ocean, is, given every dog's situation is different, is how do you, come up with creative ways to help your dog learn to self-regulate, learn to get in a better state of mind. Because, if everything our dogs are doing is cued, the dog learns to just be helpless, and they're just, like, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Don't tell me what to do and I'll feel whatever I feel. So you're helping your dog learn that how to self-regulate is the best way to say it, that they have the ability to go, oh, I'm stressed, but like, oh, my person's there, might start making Dakota feel more relaxed, or maybe just a touch on the shoulder at this point is going to trigger the relaxation. I mean, he's a more relaxed dog as a result of this 2 weeks of training twice a day for maybe 5 minutes. I mean, like, for each meal I've been doing this, and, with, moving it around the house and stuff like that changes it up, and starting over and over and over, which is something that Warwick Schiller talks about, that people feel like they're not making progress if they can't, get closer to their goal. And yet I think it's that first part of anything, when you're dealing with reactivity, that takes really, really long. So if you're unwilling to start, like every time I do this with Dakota, we start at the very beginning. And I'm fine with that. And I believe what I'm seeing now is the result of starting over and over and over versus me trying to progress. That just doing this first thing, which is the nervous system is relaxing. That's what he's learning. That's what he's learning. Starting at the beginning, that's what he's learning. And that's why it's showing up. Versus had I just tried to progress and get him to be, to start doing crazy stuff with his body, to take it further than I've been taking it, that would have been a waste of time, And I think a lot of times in training, people go, okay, I've proofed my start line stay. And now I'm going to start jumping around and jumping jacks. I'm going to do all this crazy stuff. And I'm going, why are you doing that? Like, well, because this is proofing. It's like, your dog knows that's bullshit. You're the first time you do it, your dog may go, what are you doing? The second time your dog's going, oh my God, she's doing that crazy thing. I don't know why she does that. But the better way of proofing your start line would be, and I just did this at this instructor training for my mark training course, and it was wild. I told the person, she's got a very reactive, responsive dog to anything she does. So I said, okay, I want you to, put your dog in a mark bucket. I want you to stand next to him, and I want you to think about leading out. And as soon as she thought about leading out, her dog flew forward like a bat out of hell. And why did the dog do that? Was it woo-woo? No. Imperceptible things attached to this person's thinking. I'm about to lead out. So your muscles are probably starting to fire a little bit. There's something about that the dog is reading, and they have a higher flicker rate with their eyes, so they actually are seeing much more fast than we're seeing. But it's the same thing. We know a dog's about to break. Our dogs know when we're about to release them, and they will release the second you are about to say release. They're going to break, and you're thinking, how does that always happen? Well, you're not going to teach your dog not to do that by doing jumping jacks. How you're going to teach your dog not to do that is you're going to be thinking about saying your release word, and your dog's going to release. And you're going to think, and you're going to say whoopsie if you use no reward markers, or reset if you don't. And you're going to actually realize that there are things that you don't even know you're doing that are releasing your dog. So that's what you're proofing, thinking the release word. And then you'll realize, oh, I know what it is now. It's me inhaling. About to say, okay, it's my mouth going, like that was a release for Dakota for a while. So I had to proof, that's called observe your dog, observe yourself, treat training like the wonderful creative experiment that it is. And you will solve every quirky problem your dog has if you approach it in that kind of way versus doing all this external stuff that, again, a few, like one trainers, it influenced a lot of the way things are trained. And she did it a long time ago. And it's still just residuals all over the place. And I look at it and go, what is that doing for you? Your dog can clearly stay when you're jumping around like, moron. But can your dog stay when you take a breath in? So anyway, yeah.
Okay, we have another question for you from Linda. She says her 2-year-old chocolate lab often likes to sniff during rally. So is she not engaged?
Okay, that's a fantastic opportunity to go, okay, is sniffing the cause or sniffing the effect? So I'm going to say sniffing is the external expression or the effect of a thought or emotion that happened before. So if you are observing your dog, you're exploring in day-to-day life all the different ways that when your dog goes from attention to sniffing, you're just going to observe what is the mind shift there. And you're not asking anything of the dog. You're just, noticing. Like I had somebody in Ocean, her dog is a lab, and in the middle of training, she'll just disengage and go. So this person is doing one of the exercises in I think it's in the observe your dog level. And she realized that, she's just feeding her dog, and there's a whole thing about giving food in a conscious way and present way. And all of a sudden her dog disengaged, just like on the agility field. But instead of the person going, my dog is distracted by birds, my dog is distracted by this, because that's what it appears to be. It's a lab. And yes, the dog is distracted by birds, but that is the effect. So the cause she got to see, this is the dog disengaging from her with nothing other than the dog choosing to disengage. So there goes the story out the window, right? That I need to work on birds. I need to go, train my dog around more and more birds because that's my dog's problem. Distraction by birds. So distraction by grass or distraction by whatever the sniffing appears to be. So what she then had to unwind is what happened right before my dog disengaged from doing nothing but giving food? What caused that to happen? So at that point, you're investigating the potential of the cause. And that dog, after that aha for that person, went from, disengaging to the point where she couldn't even do, her runs in class to a little bit of disengage and re-engage because it's a habit. So the dog is wrong. This is what happens. Like, the dog doesn't understand what the handler wants, and she just kind of disengages and then comes back. That this is how the dog deals with, I don't know what you want, kind of blows a little gasket and comes back. But eventually this handler is going to get to the point where she's going to say, when that dog disengages, what happened right before that? What was I asking the dog to do? What about that was my dog confused about? Because for that dog, it's an expression of confusion. I don't know what to do. Whereas another dog, their confusion, don't know what to do, is going to, maybe be a little like a look away like that. And what happens if the person misses that? It's certainly not going to affect your performance. But if the person misses that, now the dog's going, I'm a little concerned. My person isn't paying attention, doesn't care. So now that dog's going to start going, oh God, this is really confusing. And now the dog's going to be a little bit less energetic. And now you've got a dog that used to be really fast, and a year later, you've got a dog that's not that fast anymore, and you can't figure out what happened to my dog's drive. So you go to somebody to try to fix your dog's drive. Well, that's all an expression of a dog who is expressing something for some reason and you didn't notice. So in some ways, your sniffing dog or your dog that runs off or your dog that barks is actually giving you beneficial feedback, and just look at what's happening right before. And the best way to do that is video. You have to video because you will never see it. And you'll think you're seeing everything, and you'll do the video like, oh my God, that was so unclear on my part. I was so late. My foot was facing the wrong direction, all of that stuff. And, one other thing, is training beyond the skills that you need for your sport. Because, we have objectives, we have goals with the things we think we need. I mean, need is a whole thing about dog sports. But one of the things I love about mark training is a part of any dog sport. So anything you're training there, you don't have an objective, you're more likely going to observe your dog and connect with compassion because you don't have another objective. So it helps people stay right with it. And I'm guessing that with your dog, he's going to be expressing that same thing with the different setups that you can do away from rally. So you can figure out what is the cause versus trying to get him to stop doing the external expression. So, I think one thing you might be getting from all this is, it should sound simple, right? With observe your dog is simple. Connect with the dog in front of you. These are simple concepts, but to implement them when training, when actually doing something, this is the hard part. And that's why Ocean turned into a membership program that it takes time to implement. It takes reminders, and it takes, if somebody's not saying, hey, video, you're going to stop videoing, because videoing is a pain in the ass. It sucks up time, and then you got to watch it, and then you got to put it on an external hard drive because you have too much video, all that stuff. That if you're alone trying to do this, you're not likely to keep on doing it. But if you're with a group of people who everybody is doing it, and you're seeing everybody getting results and you're getting results, you're more likely to keep doing it. So I think, what's turned into the biggest benefit of Ocean has been this ongoing memberships, that 90% of the people who go through the foundation course stay in month to month. And, I have weekly, live events, or I do one-on-one coaching that I share with everybody. It just keeps people engaged and motivated and inspired to keep working on these invisible things, right? That it's so easy to get locked into external, because that's what everybody around you is doing. And we're living in the physical world where external behaviors happen, but everything that's happening in the external world first starts as thought or feeling. And so that's the source. That's, and, like I said early on, if you're not getting good results, assume that you're trying to fix the expression or the effect versus you're working on the source. Because, the one thing that happens is when you hit the source, like I did with Dakota, with the hypersensitivity about the feet, you get just ripples everywhere. It changes that because it's a core issue. And I can't believe it. He's 6. And I just now got to this now. And the funny thing about what kept me from getting to this is I have tried to get him to relax about his toenails. I have tried everything. And I just decided this is one of these things that, even though this was my objective with every dog, is easy grooming, easy toenails, easy handling, and loose leash walking. And loose leash walking and handling were never happened with him, even though those were my top priorities. So he's a great agility dog, great search and rescue dog. He's like nearly perfect, except for these things I thought are insurmountable, unchangeable. This is just the downside of this dog. Well, because I never really was willing to investigate, because I was so sure it's insurmountable, unchangeable. So this brings up the topic of limiting beliefs we have about our dog, about our breed, about everything. And that people, including myself, we will fight for our beliefs. So my belief was, this is unsurmountable. This is just the way this dog is. And I was so wrong about that. So that now has opened up everything at a whole new level, because, I was sucked into the belief, the limiting belief. And so this is going to help me with people, that I'm working with, that, just like the bird dog the birds were not the problem, that was just, for me, that was a pretty big moment to realize, because I'd sucked into it too. She's like, yeah, look, my dog, the bird's on the field, she goes running. I'm like, yes, your dog has distraction problems. We need to work on that. But it never really occurred to me, how much it wasn't about the birds. So anyway.
Okay, well, we're just past an hour, so we'll give you guys a couple more questions or minutes to ask any questions that you might have. In the meantime, I'll just say I met online this spring. We were doing a course together, and I joined her stuff right away. I find it super interesting. Because of my life and health and everything else I've been going on, I haven't been able to practice as much, but I'm getting a huge benefit just from being even in her free group and her other groups, and seeing what people are doing. So Deb, if you want to give us a little more information on your membership in case anyone is interested in joining.
Yeah. So there are a few different options, and I have a free Facebook group called Ocean for Dogs. And I've been posting a lot lately, because Facebook, if you don't post a lot, then nobody sees posts. So I've been trying to, bring back up the number of people who see the posts. And they're just, different videos and conversations. People can post questions they're having. So that's a free option. And the Ocean Foundations, it's going to open probably every 3 to 6 months with a new group. And I like people going through together, because every week we have like a live Q&A. So everybody's kind of on the same page, asking the same questions. And people who've already been through Ocean Foundations, I'm encouraging them, go through it again, because you'll recognize how far you've come by realizing, going through the lessons, going, oh my gosh, last time I heard this, I was there and now I'm here. Wow. And so it's going to help people see where they're at. And that, I've kept the price really modest, and the commitment is only to 3 months. So you get through the membership, you get through the 6 or 7 week foundation training, and then you get a peek into the membership to see if you want to go on with this group. And there's so much information that's built up in the past 9 months. So that's oceanfordogs.com. That's the classroom website. And you'll see a wait list. You can click on that, and you will hear when this registration opens for that. And definitely whitelist my email address, that if you don't, it will end up in spam for sure. That's something I've learned. That you have to, deb@oceanfordogs.com has to be in your email, or you will not get these emails. And let's see, what else is there? I feel like there's one more thing. Ocean for Dogs. And for today and tomorrow, Clean Run is offering Mark Training Essentials. And I was a little reluctant to put a mark training course out there out of the context of Ocean. It is part of Ocean Foundation. So if you're interested in exploring Ocean, then just do foundations and you get mark training essentials for free. But anyway, I put it out there as a standalone. Clean Run thought it would be great. And I think some people can grasp how you implement Ocean principles through mark training. But based on some of the questions I've seen after people take it, they're like, well, how do I do it? And I'm like, well, you know, it's like you take Ocean. But I mean, it's almost a little bit like selling air, because until you begin to see the things you haven't been seeing, you don't know what you're not seeing. So I'm saying there's more to see about your dog, and you're like what? And I'm like, well, you got to see. So it is a funny thing to sell. It's more of if this makes sense to you. You know, the principles make sense to you. If you feel like, you know, I want to explore my dog's performance and behavior problems from a different perspective because I'm tired of pulling my hair out and I'm not getting anywhere, and I want my dog to recall, or I want to do, you know, I want to get, you know, qualifying runs or whatever it is, and you're, you know, really open minded, you want to try something else. Or even like with COVID, you know, I've backed way off of dog sports, and it's been a great opportunity to, you know, go deep with my dogs, you know, in day-to-day life. And it's been a phenomenal experience. And I may not ever go back to the intensity of agility that I did before, because something, you know, magical is happening, you know, as we're like being more and doing less. It's kind of interesting. So it is a very good COVID era, you know, experience to go through, and all of this stuff can be done at your house. So it's something you can do a little bit, 5 minutes here and there, versus have to rent a training facility and all that. So yeah, so that's what's coming up. And once registration closes, it really is closed. So I had originally planned to open it on the 25th of January, close it February 1st. I have to work out some technical stuff with my website, so that's going to be pushed back a little bit, but it is opening soon. So if you're interested, go to oceanfordogs.com and get on the wait list and join a free group.
And I did add the link to the free group and your website into our group. So we have one more question. Linda says she missed what A and N means in Ocean.
Attitude before anything, and never stop learning. And then in quotations, about yourself and your dog.
So does anyone else have any questions?
Well, I hope that was enjoyable. Oh, Barbara, you frozen?
Oh, I was frozen. I am back. Still no new questions, though.
Luckily, it caught you in a pleasant, like, facial expression. You know, because I've been watching Lucifer because I've watched everything else. So I'm watching Lucifer, and now all I think about is like the devil faces people give their dogs when they think they're not doing no reward markers. I'm like, you may not be saying a word, but you are doing the devil face. So you know, might as well just say whoops and let it be neutral instead of like.
Okay, well, it looks like no one has any more questions for you right now. So thank you very much for coming, and I enjoyed it, and I'm sure everybody else did. And I hope they check out your program.
Okay, well, nice seeing you, Barb. Nice seeing you all.
We've got some thank you from Lou. We'll see how it helps with herding and toenails.
Yeah. Oh gosh, herding for sure, right? Isn't herding all about connecting with your dog, and you have to trust your dog, right? Yeah, and herding and chasing come from the same parts of that wolf brain. So it's a very gray area there. Yeah, that, oh yes, for sure. And I assume she means not jails, but nails. Yes. Cool. It does. Yeah. That was, yes. I can say for sure that there are ways to help your dog learn to relax his or her nervous system. And it can happen like instantaneously, shockingly so. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to try that. We've been through 3 surgeries with Toby and had in the last 3 years and had to do everything. And she'll do it, but she's not happy.
Right. Right. And that's what I thought I was going to be dealing with is this, this resistant dog, and he can make himself really hard to, I mean, these legs can go out like a four-legged tripod thing where it's like, wow, he's really good at that. He'd be like, if he had toenails, he could do that on the ceiling. Like really grippy toenails. I mean, that's how committed he is to not being moved. Yeah.
Yeah, I often say Toby's like a cat, when
Yeah.
she wants to be petted, she's great, but if you touch her at the wrong time, you get snarled at because it's like, no.
That's that reactivity thing. So it'll be interesting to play with, right?
Yeah.
That she's not choosing that. It's a nervous system reaction. And so that's the surprising thing. Dakota wasn't choosing any of that resistance. And I kind of knew that probably, that's just how he was reacting. And so now he's not. 6 years later.
I'm gonna go try that now.
With the goal of experimentation, that, and the key is that you're not pushing against them. And then when they, release, you push more. The key, you have to really, you will start doing that because you'll get goal oriented. As soon as anything changes, you have to release your pressure. They have to get that they're causing the pressure to be released by releasing the pressure. That is what made the shift happen. That alone. That's the thing I got from thinking about it from a horse perspective. That the horse choosing versus it, because we can push a dog over, we can't push a horse over. So yeah. Well, you can't even push a dog over.
Yeah, I'm like a little dog, maybe.
Yeah, really. Well, okay.
Okay,
Well,
thank you. And
have a great weekend or what's left of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.